Zenless Zone Zero, the gift that seemingly keeps on giving. Arguably the most consistently good gacha game at the moment is back with 1.3. This time focusing on Section 6 and their fight against a hacker named Nullface. But was this actually good? Well, that's why I'm here. I'm gonna rate the story, the characters and the events out of 5 before giving the patch as a whole a rating out of 5. So let's just get into it. The story is simple but effective. It takes us through what we believe to be a normal day for Section 6. Basically, they're celebrity ethereal fighters with a massive following and fanbase. They've been tasked with testing out a simulation system for the HIA, and all seems normal. Until afterwards, when there's no one in Luminous Square when they actually leave, and when Yanagi slaps Harumasa and he doesn't feel it. Turns out that Nullface, a well-known hacker, has trapped them in the simulation and is literally going to rot their brains and shut them down, killing them in the process. Yanagi refuses to let this happen and proves to be one step ahead of Nullface at all times. Hacker turns Section 6 against her. She stops them from fighting in future fights so that Nullface can't record any more combat data on them. Hacker turns Harumasa into a Bangboo, no worries, it just makes Yanagi's job easier. The way out for Section 6 is that they have to defeat the last 3 enemies in the simulation, but when it's just Yanagi and Nullface looks to stop them at every turn, this will become increasingly difficult. Nullface even goes as far as to create a Phantom Miyabi to try and stop Yanagi, but this is where we see her full power on display and the day is saved. Not much else apart from that, it really is just a side story, it's just building up Section 6, so it doesn't really need any more than just a cool story featuring them. But honestly, this was a fun story, you know, it brought a lot of needed character elements to Section 6, it gave us their dynamic and showed us a lot about their trust in each other, and it's a fun story, you know, these side missions and these side stories, they always seem to deliver in the world building and making characters feel super special. I have to give this story a 4 out of 5, it's a solid patch, and I just feel like there were some minor pacing issues that do bring it down just a little bit from being like the perfect story. So this update gives us 3 characters who haven't really been in the story that much. I mean, Yanagi's been in it a little bit, we've seen Sakaku a little bit, Harumasa hasn't been in the story at all, and we get a little bit more on Miyabi. Now, I will say this might be a little bit of a controversial rundown of characters, so please do me a favor if you do disagree with any of my opinions on these characters, do go ahead and let me know in the comments below. When it comes to Yanagi, design aside, she's actually a really cool character. You know, from watching her trailer to seeing her in the story, it's clear that looking after the people that she cares about and making sure everyone's needs are catered to is her, you know, is her thing. She's definitely essentially the mother of Section 6 and it's super wholesome. Her relationship with Sukaku is especially wholesome with the added lore, and honestly, she's a character I actually want to see more of. I'm down to give Yanagi a 4 out of 5 if we look past the design. The design would bring it down a little bit overall, but you know, again, we don't need to talk about that constantly. Miyabi is still a character of mystery, and I guess it makes sense. I feel like 1.4 is where we're gonna really see the full depth of who she is. But right now, she's a nonchalant, somewhat goofy character who could chop your head off at any second. I'm still waiting to give my full judgment, but right now, Miyabi is at like a 3.25 out of 5 for me. Maybe that will go up later down the line. Sukaku is a hungry little gremlin, and I'm genuinely convinced that she's only in Section 6 because of Yanagi. She provided comedy and humor in a chapter that needed it to keep that Zenless vibe alive, you know. Zenless has a really good way of doing seriousness, but with comedic elements thrown in there, and a character like Sukaku definitely helps with that. I honestly think she's a funny character, but I'd really like to see more depth from Sukaku down the line. I would give her a 3.5 out of 5, a solid character, but I feel like there needs to be more development down the road. I feel like that's the only thing. Harumasa is an absolute slacker, and it's so funny, and he is also a comedic relief of Section 6. We basically have Yanagi and Miyabi kind of being like, you know, the playing it straight characters, and Sukaku and Harumasa are your comedic relief. He's also a bit of a goofball, but I don't think we've seen everything he has to offer yet. But what they have shown is entertaining at the least. I'd give him a 3.25 out of 5 on the basis that I think that we are only just scratching the surface on who Harumasa is. So I think from now on, I'm going to talk about the big event for every patch and any smaller events that I think are worth mentioning. So we start off with the Mystery of Arpeggio Fault, and this one is a lot of fun. It gets a little grindy if you play it over one day like I did, but the premise is fun. It's a unique way to use the TV system, and there are a lot of intricacies and strategies that you can use to make the experience unique to you. Essentially, the best way I could describe it is it's kind of like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon mixed with like Hollow Zero. You can assemble a team built around some of the characters in the game. Each of them have their own mechanics, such as Nicole's attack being linked to the amount of gear coins you have, which is very fitting. I will say that it's very easy to learn, but the finer details could take you a little while to learn. But honestly, as long as you know that bigger numbers mean easier experience, you'll be absolutely fine. I'd give this event a solid 3.75 out of 5. It's fun, but it can get a bit repetitive, purely down to how much it costs to purchase new characters to use for the mode. And you can only bring 3 at a time, so maybe if you had a strategy that involved like 4 characters, that's just not possible. And then we get into Lighter's event. Now, Lighter's event is just pure combat, right? It's just, you do a couple missions, you do a nice little side-scroll, brawlers type game. It's a lot of fun. It's just the game, but side-scrolling. I really enjoyed it. It was simple, it was fun. You get to beat people up as Lighter, you get to use Bernice. There are some intricacies to it when you get into the more, like, expert levels, but apart from that, it's just a fun one. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. Pretty solid event overall. So I genuinely think that 1.3 was a solid patch, and I'm sure if there are any events left, it will finish off as strong as it started. Maybe my score will change, but for now, I would probably give it a 3.75 out of 5. It's a really solid offering from Zenless, further supporting my idea that they're absolutely killing it with making the game fun. But there is one final thing I have to quickly mention that I couldn't mention anywhere else that does bring the score down ever so slightly. When the patch first came out, you could actively soft lock yourself on PC, meaning that progressing in the main story was impossible for a while, so I have to deduct some points from the score there. I have to be fair, and if there's an issue like that, it has to be brought into, you know, the kind of overall patch. But yeah, apart from that, great offering, 3.75 out of 5, but let me know what you guys think about 1.3 in the comments below. See ya!